Good morning and welcome to Missoula Real Estate Today. This is Peter Christian. I'm here with the host of the show, Diane Beck, with Windermere Real Estate. Diane has been helping buyers and sellers with real estate in the Missoula area for over 20 years and is very active in the Missoula community. Along with her trusted partners, Diane provides complete service for your real estate transaction. And now, Missoula Real Estate Today on NewsTalkKGVO.com. 98.3 FM and 1290 AM. Welcome, everybody. It's Missoula Real Estate Today. I'm Peter Christian, and I am thrilled to a dear friend who is, I didn't realize was doing what she's doing now, is sitting right across from me, my friend Paige Pavalone. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
It's been a long time since you and I used to work together in another capacity.
We did.
But, man, I tell you what, I have tremendous respect for the way you do things and your work ethic and the kind of person that you are. So I'm really glad that you are talking. You're working with a group called Missoula Works.
That's right.
So,
yes.
So what is Missoula Works anyway?
So Missoula Works, we would have to start talking about Missoula Interfaith Collaborative first to understand how Missoula Works came into play. So MIC, as you know, Missoula Interfaith Collaborative, is a network of about 36 different congregations across all different denominations in Missoula. So Buddhist, Christian, Mormon, you name it. So everybody comes together in this network. It's kind of like a club. Kind
of surprising that all those folks would be able to get together.
I
right?
know, and it's great.
Yeah.
So MIC is the epicenter of all of these different networks that come together. And we work towards different social justice missions, homelessness, family homelessness specifically. MIC actually owns Family Promise, which is one of the only shelters that house families here in Missoula.
Right.
So we do a lot of different things and try to bring people to the table to help overcome some of the obstacles that Missoula as a community is facing. So about a year ago, some of the leaders at MIC were trying to conceptualize what kind of company they can start to help feed into Family Promise and produce revenue for that enterprise, but also give back to the community. So they came up with the concept of a staffing agency, Missoula Works. So about a year ago this time, it was November 2016, and Missoula Works came to fruition, and they had a board of directors, which is some of which still sit on the board now. And there was a gal that put the pieces together. She put Missoula Works in place, and she did a bang-up job of just putting all of the fundamentals together for us to be a successful organization. So she got her dream job, and in March of last year, I had applied for a different position within Missoula Interfaith Collaborative, and they called me back and they said, hey, this other position came available and we want you to apply for it. And it was the executive director position. So I was like, sure. So they told me about the mission behind what Missoula Works does, what Missoula Interfaith Collaborative does, and I was hook, line, and sinker. I mean, it's not a churchy organization. When people hear interfaith, they think, oh, well, it's a lot of gaudy kind of stuff.
Which prayer book do I have to carry around with me, right?
Right, exactly. But it wasn't like that. It just spoke to the bigger missions that we're trying to achieve in this community to make it a better place. And one of those things was unemployment, which I had a lot of unfamiliarity with, unfortunately. So when they were talking about folks that have had barriers to unemployment, I said, well, this is right up my alley. I can empathize with people that are walking through the door and have families to feed, and mouths to feed. So anyways, I got the position, and in the 4 months that we had been in operation, we had very few contracts with different companies in town. So we're a staffing agency. So we're just like the other big staffing agencies that have been here for 25, 30 years. And they're big contenders, they're titans in this town.
Sure.
And here we're this small company that's just trying to grow our roots.
You're like a startup.
Exactly.
Right.
So we had to secure contracts with companies right away. In the meantime, there was folks walking in the door that heard about us through a congregation and said, hey, you can find me a job, right? And then I started to hear their stories about, how serious and how dire it was that they get a paycheck next Friday. And I think of one particular person that came in, and his name was Joey. He came in the door, and I'd been in the position probably a month, 3 weeks. And he said, well, we are in a house in Midtown. Me and my wife are homeless. We have 3 kids. We're holed up with friends of ours in this tiny house over in Midtown somewhere. And he's telling me, he's like, I have 0 income. And he used to be a car dealer, but he could not find a job. And they couldn't apply for any benefits because they had recently moved from Idaho and had an established residency.
Wow.
So they couldn't even get qualifications for food supplements.
Strike 1, 2, 3, right?
Oh, absolutely. So this guy was calling me every single day. He filled out an application, super, super bright, very intelligent, just a great communicator.
Very motivated, obviously.
Very motivated,
Right.
yeah. And he was calling me every single day. And do you have anything yet? Do you have anything yet? And that struck a chord with me, Peter, because I was registered with those staffing agencies. And I remember calling in and saying, is there anything, like literally anything? And where you start the bar high of knowing what you're capable of doing, and you quickly reduce that bar to what you have to do to support yourself and support your family. And that is where I reduced my bar. I was looking for work and I was just needing that chance. So I connected with him on a very primal level. And as far as that goes, I got it. I got the urgency of the situation. So at that point, Missoula Works, we changed directions really quickly. We started off as just a staffing agency, but with this opportunity, we kind of organically grew into something very different. We had all the pieces in place. We were paying a ton of money for workman's comp, insurance, licensure, all this other stuff to keep our employees staffed. We were paying money. We didn't have employees. So that's when we got on the phone and we literally started calling friends, business owners, and saying, hey, I've got this guy and he needs work. So I had a girlfriend, she owns 7 acres out in Clinton. She's got this like fun farm. And she had recently had surgery on her knee, so she couldn't go out and attend to the stalls. So I said, are you willing to hire this guy to come out and take care of this? I know you've got work to do. And she's like, yeah, send him out. So he had no car, so he had to find a way to get out to Clinton every day.
Wow.
And no supervision. We did a background check on him, and she knew he was going to be there. And basically, the only thing he could show for his work was the end product. Like, this is what I did. So he went out there and he busted his back and cleaned these stalls for 3 days, and he got a paycheck on Friday. So we drew up a contract with her, and that's how the Get It Done crew got started. There was an absolute need for people that don't necessarily want to hire like a full contracting crew, but maybe need somebody for 2 to 4 hours to help them move furniture, help me paint this wall, so on and so forth. And then all of the proceeds that we generate go directly back to Family Promise. And also the great thing about Missoula Works is that I've had the opportunity to work with many of our parents that are housed in Family Promise. And the very first person that we actually employed, she's a mother of 3 in our Family Promise program. She is now a supervisor in the position that we placed her in. And she was the first person that we placed. So it was a really great story.
So it sounds to me like if you will, you've got some providential help,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and who wouldn't, you know,
Right.
when you're working in an organization like that.
Yeah.
So I imagine that there's a lot of trusting. There's a lot of, it's different from, I imagine, what you call a secular type situation.
Right.
Because you had just mentioned that you're now in a position where you find things that need to be done, even if it's just for an hour or 2 or a couple of days or whatever, and you plug those people in and boom, you're off and running, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly. And it hasn't been an easy road. I mean, so a lot of the folks that are in our wheelhouse, they've got challenges, huge challenges. Childcare. Where's that 3-year-old going in the day? Not having transportation, not having a driver's license, and maybe not having a lot of great work experience, or traditionally being a good worker. They may have a felony in their past. So identifying what those obstacles are, and then really having a candid conversation with that employee and saying, okay, we know you've got 3 kids. Where is little Isabella going tomorrow?
Right.
Let's make sure that we clear the path so you get to work on time. And when you get there, you're going to have a successful experience. So the way we kind of structure the business model has transformed into us putting people on the Get It Done crew. We're calling it the Get It Done crew.
No, the Get It Done crew means like day-to-day work?
Day-to-day work,
Okay.
yeah. They're day laborers.
All right.
So when people come into our wheelhouse and they need money and they need experience quickly and they want to go to work and they're going to put their best foot forward, we are going to put them on the Get It Done crew. And we're going to put them with one of our crew leads. So we have 2 crew leads that have been there since conception. And we also have a project manager that just oversees the Get It Done stuff, because it has been busy. It has grown into this like crazy busy monster.
So take just a minute and tell me some of the jobs that they do, because you say they're busy all the time. Well, fill us in.
So on a general work week, the Get It Done crew will do everything. So like Monday morning, they're showing up to Mrs. Smith's house up the Rattlesnake, and she wants 2 employees to go up there for 4 hours and rake leaves until noon. And we try to carve out 4-hour intervals so we can have a baseline the amount that we charge. Then after that, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, they're going to Missoula Organization of Realtors and helping them move things around and patch walls and paint walls. Then the next day, they're going to an elderly person's house and helping them organize their garage. So it is such a plethora of things. It's get it done. Just these projects that you have that don't necessarily warrant you hiring this major, complex, super expensive company, but it's something a little more than the kid next door is capable of handling, right?
Right.
And all of our folks are licensed, insured, and bonded, and there's a supervisor with them to make sure that they're doing a good job.
I wanted to ask you about that specifically because there's got to be protection on both sides. There's got to be protection for the homeowner or whoever's hiring, and also protection for the worker if they slip and fall or whatever.
Absolutely. So all of our folks are covered in workman's comp, and it's kind of a logistical nightmare trying to navigate because workman's comp it's super specific on each job. So going through each job and identifying each classification code for jobs, it's tricky. So we've created a monster as far as that goes, but it's okay.
How long has it taken you to get the 1, 2, 3, the steps to make sure that before you send the people out there, you've got all your ducks in a row?
So usually in a couple days. So if somebody comes in, they give us their application and everything's done and we can get their background started. As soon as we get that return on what that background is, so we can have full disclosure to our clients, we can hit the ground running. But then there's also a common sense element too. We're not going to put folks that have had, thefts inside of a residence. We're just not going to do that. They can go to jobs that are painting exteriors of houses and helping trim trees and rake leaves and things like that, probably at like a commercial organization. So we have to be really careful about where some of our folks are placed. And each person is a specific case, a specific background that we have to be cognizant of before we send them to a different job.
Of course, you're also very sensitive to their needs as well, right?
Yeah, so for sure. And, the obstacles that a lot of our folks face. And I don't want to, a lot of people have come to think that Missoula Works, we only work with people who have had barriers. We're only working with people on probation. And that is not the case at all. We are just a staffing agency just like anybody else, but we happen to be an office full of social workers, so from Missoula Interfaith Collaborative.
Sure, yeah.
So we're equipped to specially manage and help assist with folks that have had these hiccups.
Let me ask you this. There are major employment agencies around town. Because of the work you're doing and the spirit behind it, if you will, do you find that every now and then they will say, you know what, we can't handle it, but this is too small for us, go see Missoula Works?
Yeah. And I have a great relationship with some of the staffing agencies in town. I've known them. I've been here for a while. But we have a good working relationship. But we're two different things. We're two totally different things. So an established staffing agency, they've got this incredible software that people walk in and they're taking tests on the computer. We don't have that. We are operating out of a church space on the second floor of St. Paul's Church downtown. And we're growing, and we will get there one day. But we're super grassroots and very organic. And so when people come in, they're meeting me and they're meeting our volunteers. And they're talking to us directly right out of the get-go. And we want to hear their story. Not just, okay, what have you done in your past? And you've got a pulse and let's put you to work. It's why are you here right now? What happened in the past 6 months, 8 months? How come there's big voids in you working in this time frame versus another time frame? So getting to know that person and identifying. And also there's a difference between a person who's looking for a job and a person who's actually willing to work, and weeding those people out.
Oh, wow.
When you send someone to work and they're not showing up for the first day, pulling them back to the table and saying like, hey,
what's going on here?
What's going on? And not just, dropping the axe on them, but having a conversation like, this has been a trend with you and we want to break this trend. And, this is not just bad for you, a bad reflection on you, but the whole company. And
but what I hear you saying here is, in a regular commercial company, that wouldn't be tolerated. First day you don't show up, see ya, and don't come back.
Exactly.
But it sounds like you're also being much more holistic with the person who wants to work. Maybe they're scared. Maybe they got hurt somewhere. Maybe or whatever it is, and they need some help to have confidence enough to go to the job and get the job done and get that paycheck, and then they're on their way. Exactly.
Because if we feed them back into that unemployment hopper, then the cycle just keeps going and going and going. Then the codependency on having that support and constant need of support rather than pulling your bootstrapping. and learning how to be a good employee. So if we act just like everybody else and just dispose of individuals who, may not put their best foot forward, we have to give them a shot. We have to have that conversation about what really happened, because we're not helping anything. We're not helping the system. We're not helping them come out of the situation that they're in, and having a real clear conversation about what they're capable of doing and not setting them up for failure.
Right. Talking with Paige Pavalone. She's working with Missoula Works, part of Missoula Interfaith Collaborative. What about the families? It is, again, because we're talking very organic deals here, very holistic, where you're not just talking with an individual who wants to work, but that individual has a family. And do they realize, hey, I'm getting a job here, but I understand that the Interfaith Collaborative can help me in other ways?
Oh, yeah. MIC is so dynamic in their capacity to, if not actually taking control of a person's situation and assigning them with a housing advocate network. We have just a group of volunteers. Some of them are on the payroll and some of them are not, that are here to help you and help you find housing, help you find affordable housing, help you navigate the being unemployed and not being able to get support that you need. So in our shelter specifically, we have the capacity of 15 people, and it's right over here. It's across the street over at near CMC. I know all of our families. I know all of their children. One of my main employees, I know all of his kids. He's been in my bandwidth for 8 months. So you get to know them and you get to know their kids and you know their family, you know their circumstances. We all come to the table and we talk about what's working, what's not working, what have been positive notes and what has been not successful. So yeah, the family element, when they come in on a Friday and pick up their paycheck and you talk with their kids,
right, and
you talk about Santa Claus and you get that, you understand who they are as people in this community, and they're just people like everybody else, but they're not making huge money to make the rent in some of these places.
Sure. Do you find that the people who work for you begin to network with each other as well? I mean, because when you send a crew out, obviously they're working together, so they're getting to know each other, and perhaps the strength can build on strength, and gosh, I used to do this, well, so did I. Right. So tell me how that works.
So on the Get It Done crew specifically, there has been such a tremendous amount of camaraderie. Everybody comes from different backgrounds, and some folks have had challenges, and some are, in different phases of sobriety, and some of them are, have encountered homelessness themselves, and some of them are veterans. So that community and that network that they create to help each other out has been absolutely amazing to see the teamwork develop on the Get It Done crew. And like I said, the folks that have been there from day one, they're like family to me. One of them, she's a wildland firefighter, and she's just, to see her forge into this like leader on our team. She's just like 100 pounds soaking wet. Her name is Sherry. And she's just like this boss and shows up and can just tear up anything. And she gets the most accolades of any of our clients, but to see that transformation of her as a professional and as, developing her leadership skills on a team of mostly, big, strong dudes that are here to like get things done.
Right. And
she kind of takes the lead on that. So it's been really awesome to see that, that happen, and that when you hear about them getting their families together on the weekends to play and getting the kids together and then going out and meeting up after work, it's just really cool to hear that.
Well, now, Paige, this has been going for a year now, right? So started where, and where are we now?
So when we started, we had 0 employees. So there was one. I was the only employee.
Right.
And since I've been here, we have employed 46 different people.
Wow.
And our Get It Done crew has usually generated about $17,000 in revenue per month in the summer months.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So it's super busy in the summer. It's not
right.
that busy now.
Sure.
But it's taken off. There's a niche.
So when people are in Missoula Works, obviously this is not a career. This is kind of do you consider it kind of a stopgap, or do you consider it a step on the way to something else?
I think that people that are coming with us, this could be a career for people, because we have grown so much just in this time. We've created a project manager position to oversee this entire crew that has become so large. But I think that, people coming into our wheelhouse, we serve so many different kinds of employers, and it can be anything from, industrial laundry to housekeeping. And then we've even had engineering firms reach out to us for, looking for front desk people or project managers or whatever, marketing. So we serve so many different communities, and the possibilities are absolutely endless. So we can certainly place somebody into their, final career position. But the way that it's structured right now, we can put people on the Get It Done crew, and this gives us an opportunity to vet them. They can come to work, and so they go to an assignment, they report to their crew lead, the crew lead reports to the project manager. Now, that person doesn't want to stay in the Get It Done crew forever. I mean, they could if they want to, some do, and they become crew leads.
Right,
but,
there you go.
So if they do a great job on the Get It Done crew and they come in and they're showing up to work on time, then we assess what their work skill is, their work ethic, they're showing up to work on time. Then we consider them for permanent placement with one of these other organizations. So other staffing agencies cannot do that. So we employ all of the folks that we're pushing out beforehand. And not all the time, but we have an opportunity to do that, to really get to know them. And I can vouch for them as an employer when I'm talking to another potential employer and saying, yes, Joe comes to work every single day and he works so hard that, I've seen him sweating, carrying furniture up 3 flights of steps. And, this is his backstory because I also know him on a personal level. So it really enables our ability to pitch them and to kind of serve in their corner.
And especially people who have been in difficult circumstances, who maybe are quite literally starting over again.
Right.
And you give them an opportunity to create a work history.
Right.
So that when let's say do move to Bozeman or Billings or wherever they want to go, or where their family is, then they can come and have, this is my resume from Missoula Works.
Oh, yeah.
And they call Paige. So she'll vouch for me. She'll tell you. And so I think that is something that's absolutely invaluable for someone who's getting back into the work world.
Right, for sure. And it has proven to be that way. And the folks that have done it and see what we're doing, they're a part of our organization in a couple different ways sometimes. So if they're employed by us, they're often working with Missoula Interfaith Collaborative to secure housing or work in another capacity, because MIC does so many things. We've got so many different irons and so many different fires. So they're in our wheelhouse, right?
You should bring them along next time.
I know.
Yeah.
So no, it's really a great opportunity for folks that want to come out and prove I am worth my weight in gold, and I am going to be a good employee, and I will show you right now. If I had that opportunity 5 years ago, I'm like, just give me a shot. Let me get my foot in the door, and I will show you that I will make this my own. And being able to provide somebody that chance has been really, really redeeming.
Do you find that people can, because of your expectation, and you're a very positive person, especially after all you've been through. You're a very positive person, and so when someone comes into your office, I think you probably are able to project to them, I know this can happen. You just need to know it.
Right.
And so how do you motivate them to at least take that first step and try? Right.
I think just connecting with them on a personal level and letting them know when people walk in the door, it's just, I'm not just an executive director. I will never introduce myself as an executive director. I work for Missoula Works. I'm a worker just like you are. So when a mom comes in and she doesn't have custody of her children because of whatever barriers she's had, if she's struggled with, addiction or homelessness, connecting with her. And let's talk about our kids, right? Let's talk mom to mom here. And what can this mom do to make you be a successful mom and get your kids back? And I'm going to work with you to make sure that I accommodate your visitation schedule with your children. And we're going to see if we can get you scheduled for an afternoon position, so we're not impeding on that. And that happens a lot. You have to have that flexibility. And you don't want to set them up for fail. You want to hear what skills have you earned? What skills can you do? And the ones that are trying, gosh, you hear from them, right? They text me. They have my personal cell phone number. They text me, any work tomorrow, anything coming up, and it kills me when I've got nothing to give them, right? So it's a super complicated situation, but I think just connecting with that person on that level and saying, I get it. And if we're going to make you be successful, then this is what I need from you.
I'm glad you used that word. I want to talk about some success stories. Obviously, you have probably in the back of your mind dozens of them, all right? And people that aren't necessarily working for Missoula Works anymore, but got their start there and got that first step up.
Yeah.
So can you give me any examples?
Absolutely. So I kind of touched on it before, but this one mom that we have, she's been in our program. She is a phenomenal mother, phenomenal woman, and she's got these 3 kids. And she is just doing a bang-up job. And she was the first person that came into my wheelhouse. And I sent her off to a couple different places for interviews. And when I went into this company, it's a local hotel in town, and I sat down. This is kind of our sales shtick. And I sat down and I had that really real conversation with the human resource director. And I said, listen, this is what we're trying to do. And I'm not pitching for my company. I'm pitching for this mom. Like, can you give us a shot? Can you step out of what you've been doing for so many years and working with these other companies and just give us a shot? And here's why. This is the face behind what I'm trying to get. I'm not going to just throw you some pulses and, they may show up, they may not. This is a woman who is committed to finding a job.
Right.
And having this really candid, frank conversation with this human resource manager, and we still connect now. It's awesome. And she was just like, yeah, let's try it out. So we put our employee, our mom, with that company, and she was just great. And being able to navigate those waters, like, coordinate, like, where are the kids going, and the older sibling's going to catch them off the bus and then make them supper, and I'll be back at this time and make sure I'm home for bath time. And to watch her handle it on such a cool and collective level and never missing work and going and doing hard work, housekeeping.
Does this job, Paige Pavalone, does this job kind of restore your faith in humanity?
I think so.
Yeah.
For sure. I feel like this job has been kind of divine intervention for me. Like it was supposed to happen.
Yeah. Now, how long do you want to do this? Is this something is this like a permanent gig for you, or is this are you learning to do something even bigger and better as the time goes by, or within this organization, maybe? I
think that I'm learning. I'm learning so much being a part of this organization in areas that I hadn't even thought of before. So coming from my background and having to be the social worker, and not being so black and white and understanding people's circumstances.
Right.
I've had a really real dose of that in the past 4 years, and needing people to understand the bigger picture and empathizing with folks that are walking in the door and saying, yes, I get it. And it's not just this like rigid black and white,
right.
Well, you didn't show up to work and you're done.
Right.
That's not acceptable. And I don't want that to be acceptable. So right now we're growing, and I want us to grow, and I want to see this to success. I don't want us to fail, because there's so many people counting on me now to make sure that they get that paycheck on Friday. And that's a tremendous pressure. But it's very satisfying when people are getting big paychecks and they're getting hours.
Right.
And they're able to support their kids.
Okay, let's say there are people out there right now that have a business and they've been listening and they go, this sounds really attractive. Mm-hmm. Let's say it's me. Give me the pitch. Why should I use Missoula Works over somebody else?
The biggest thing about why people should use us is because of what we do. And I always say, no one's getting rich off of what we do. No, nobody is. Right. Everything is being fed right back into the different organizations that we're supporting. So if you hire somebody with us, they make their hourly rate, $9, $10 an hour as a laborer, whatever that might be. Then we tack on a percentage. And within that percentage is all of their insurance and licensure and bonding. And then whatever's left over goes right back to support Family Promise. We're trying to keep the lights on in that place. And Family Promise, we don't want that to be a permanent fixture for our families. This is a stepping stone designed to help people move up and out.
It's a lifeline.
Yes. So it's that we support that entity is super important to me. And then I know the people that are in this entity, and I know the people that are working to make it happen.
I ask this of everybody that's on this show. When your feet hit the floor in the morning, what is it that motivates you to get up? I can't wait to get to work.
Finding work for our employees. Being able to give our people that when they come in the door and they fill out an application and we do a background, being able to call them back and say, I've got a job for you. That's the most rewarding and satisfying piece of it for me.
Give me some contact information. Where are you? Phone number, website, things like that.
Missoula Interfaith Collaborative and Missoula Works are located inside of St. Paul's Lutheran Church on 202 Brook Street. We're 2 blocks down from Hellgate High School, and we're on the 3rd floor. My telephone number is 926-3400, or you can email me at paige@MissoulaWorks.com.
It's a pleasure seeing you again.
Likewise.
So glad to see you doing so well.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we're going to, that's going to do it for Missoula Real Estate Today. For Diane Beck here on KGVO. Hope to see you again next week. Thanks for tuning into Missoula Real Estate Today. We hope you found the information over the last 30 minutes to be helpful. If you have any suggested topics for future Missoula Real Estate Today programs, or any questions about buying or selling real estate, please email Diane. Here's the address. It's DianeBeck@Realtor.com. That's DianeBeck@Realtor.com. We'll see you next week on News Talk KGVO.com, 98.3 FM and 1290 AM.